Good morning, scholars. Miss Mary here again. It's time to get ready for Wheatley. Are you ready? We're gonna read, baby, read. Say what? We're gonna read, baby, read. Say what? The more I read, the more I know. The more I know, the stronger I grow. 'Cause knowledge is power, power is freedom, and I want it. Wow, you guys, Miss Mary is so excited to see you guys here again today, and we're about to get started on our lesson. Cannot wait. Today we'll be reading The Story of Ferdinand by Monroe Leaf. We're going to be focused on describing details and illustrations. I can describe details and illustrations. Today we have 2 thinking steps. Step number 1, study the pictures. Step number 2, what do you learn about the characters, the events in the story, the setting of the story? I can describe details and illustrations. That's our hashtag for today. What's our hashtag? I can describe details and illustrations. Checking out those characters again, those events, and that setting. The Story of Ferdinand by Monroe Leaf. Once upon a time in Spain, there was a little bull and his name was Ferdinand. All the other little bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together, but not Ferdinand. He liked to just sit quietly and smell the flowers. He had a favorite spot in the pasture under a cork tree. It was his favorite tree, and he would sit in its shade and smell the flowers. Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid he would be lonesome all by himself. "Why don't you run and play with another little bull? Skip, butt your head," she would say. But Ferdinand would shake his head. "I like it better here. I can just sit quietly and smell the flowers." His mother saw that he was not lonesome, and because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she let him just sit there and be happy. As the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and strong. All the other bulls who had grown up with him in the same pasture would fight each other all day. They would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. What they wanted most of all was to be picked to fight at the bullfights in Madrid. But not Ferdinand. He still liked to sit just quietly under the cork tree and smell the flowers. One day, 5 men came in, very funny hats, to pick the biggest, fattest, and roughest bull to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. All the other bulls ran around snorting and butting and leaping and jumping, so the men would think that they were very strong and fierce, and they would pick them. Ferdinand knew that they wouldn't pick him, and he didn't care. So he went out to his favorite cork tree to sit down. He didn't look where he was sitting, and instead of sitting on the nice cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee. Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him. And that's just what this bee did to Ferdinand. Wow! Did it hurt? Ferdinand jumped out with a snort. He ran around puffing and snorting, butting and pawing the ground as if he were crazy. The 5 men saw him, and they all shouted with joy. Here was the largest and fiercest bull of all, just the one for the bullfights in Madrid. So they took him away for the bullfight day in a cart. What a day it was. Flags were flying, bands were playing, and all of the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. They had a parade into the bull ring. First came the banderillos, with long, sharp pins with ribbons on them to stick in the bull and make him mad. Next came the picadores, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick in the bull and make him madder. Then came the matador, the proudest of all. He thought he was very handsome and bowed to the ladies. He had a red cape and a sword and was supposed to stick the bull last of all. Then came the bull, and you know who that was, don't you? Ferdinand. They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and all the banderillos were afraid of him, and the picadores were afraid of him, and the matador was scared still. Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around. But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw the flowers in all the lovely ladies' hair, and he just sat down quietly and smelled them. He wouldn't fight and be fierce no matter what they did. He just sat and smelled. And the banderillos were mad, and the picadores were madder, and the matador was so mad he cried because he couldn't show off with his cape and sword. So they had to take Ferdinand home. And for all I know, he is sitting there still under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers just quietly. He is very happy. When the story's over, we say 3, 2, 1, our story is done. I can describe details in illustrations. We look at the pictures, we look at the plot and events, the characters in the story, and that setting. Today, we're going to practice how to describe details in illustrations using the story of Ferdinand. This will help us read and understand different types of illustrations. Remember to look at the characters' faces for clues to how they feel. Look at the sky in the background for details about that setting. That's where the stories take place. What do you learn about the bullfighters from the illustration on page 26? What do the details in the illustration show you? They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and all the banderillos were afraid of him, and the picadores were afraid of him, and the matador was scared still. A, they have fancy outfits. Their jackets and pants have a lot of decorations. B, they look happy. I see them smiling. C, they are going swimming. They're wearing bathing suits. What do we learn about the bullfighters? I want you to take a couple seconds to think about it. Absolutely. We learned that A, they have fancy outfits. I'm looking at their outfits here, and I see they have tons of decorations on them. What do you learn about events from the illustration on page 27? What details in the illustration do they show you? Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around. A bullfight happens in a big ring, which is like a stadium. There are rows and rows of seats around a big open area. B, a bullfight happens in a gym. I see basketball hoops. Or C, a bullfight happens at someone's house. There are people standing outside the house. Hey, I'm thinking. I'm figuring it out. If you chose A, you are correct. A bullfight happens in a big ring or arena. It also looks like a stadium. There are rows and rows of seats around a big open area. You guys did amazing today. It's time for you all to complete your exit ticket. Study the illustration on page 7, the story of Ferdinand. Finish the sentence to tell what the illustration shows about Ferdinand. We're going to have to fill in this blank. Ferdinand likes to circle a detail in this illustration that supports your answer. Let's read it together. Why don't you run and play with the other little bulls and skip and butt your head, she would say. But Ferdinand would shake his head. I like it better here where I can just sit quietly and smell the flowers. So A, Ferdinand likes to eat snacks. B, Ferdinand likes to smell flowers. Or C, Ferdinand likes to go to the playground. Take a couple seconds to think about it. Look at those details in the illustration. If you chose B, you are absolutely correct. Ferdinand likes to smell the flowers, and I see that friend circled those flowers in the illustration. It says right here, I like it better here where I can just sit quietly and smell the flowers. Teammates, you guys did an amazing job today. I think you deserve that good job cheer. If you know you did a good job, so say you did a good job. GOODJOB. Good job, good job. Ooh, ooh. Wow. I am so impressed. You guys did amazing today, per usual. I can't wait to see you right back here next week. See you next time.